Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast, hosted by #basketball.com, your home for the very best fantasy basketball tools and articles, including Tyler's weekly articles, all on fantasy basketball weekly previews.com. That's not the name of the site. Tyler, I've screwed it up. It's #basketball.com. Go check it out. You guys know that already. I'm your host, Mike Catron, screwing up the intro for the first time in a very long time. And my co-host, who did what he needed to do, one of the shadiest GMs in the fantasy basketball game, Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
Mike, you act like I had any say in that. That was just Fantrax doing Fantrax's thing. I had zero say in any of that process other than to make your third place matchup, which I had to do.
Listen, I don't want to call shenanigans. I don't want to say there should be a recount. I don't want to sully the integrity of the game, but the epic 2-week matchup for the Dynasty Listener League between Tyler and I came down to a 4-4 tie. Even though throughout the entire process of setting this league up, I demanded that there be turnovers and this be a true 9-cat league, but it came down to a 4-4 tie, and due to a setting that Tyler alleges is a default setting with Fantrax, Tyler somehow went forward because allegedly he beat me. I don't really remember you beating me in those other weeks. I assume I could go look back at it, but I'm not going to.
So I want to know what tiebreaker you think you held. I had the best record in the league with 106 wins, and you finished 23 and a half games behind me in the regular season.
That's true.
I beat you in the two matchups we had, 7-1 and 5-3.
Those are all technically true, but I won the Listener League last year, and I think winner stays.
Oh, respect! You gotta beat the champion. Is that the way that works?
Winner stays.
But when the champion stings all season long, that's what happened.
Well, this came down. I'd say pretty close down to the wire, and I'd like to give a props to the 2-week playoff matchup, because after week one, and I don't remember who was in the lead after week one, but I do remember that, like, for some reason, if there was like an extra 14 rebounds, which I actually got from the most unlikely of players on this team, Frank Kaminsky suddenly started playing. I think I would have won after week one. And I was like, all right, maybe I can compete with Tyler in rebounds, but Tyler has been dominating this league in rebounds. And on the last night, Kyle Lowry was able to shoot like 57%, which put me up in field goals. But really, there was only 6 steals between the two of us. That was the real factor here.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a close matchup, and it got a little wild. My team, not the healthiest. Your team played well. I actually thought you might win for a good while there, but I squeaked it out, and a small victory over you, Michael. A very small victory.
You got barely by the hair of your teeth. I think that's a saying. The skin of your teeth is a nasty. That's a nasty saying.
Why is it nasty? Why'd you say that nasty?
It's a nasty saying. Like, there's no skin on your teeth. That's gross.
That's why I think it's a saying. I'm not sure.
No, maybe there was so much plaque back in the day that they thought it was skin. They're like, oh, there's a lot of skin on my teeth. I barely got by.
That is even more disgusting.
I don't know. Have you seen that? You're right. That is even more disgusting. I mean, have you seen these photos of the 1800s? The state of dental hygiene in the 1800s in England? Like, it's not good.
Why in England? Why you got to throw shade on English people?
You heard me. Shout out to our English listeners. Big fan of London. Get your shit together, though. Get your shit back in the EU and stop Brexiting all day. We're tired of this shit. We're supposed to be the country falling apart. You can't try to upstage us with your bullshit. Let's knock it off. But Tyler, this is really the the end of the year. Shout out to everybody who did very well in their leagues. The playoffs are still going on. There's a lot of suspicious things that I want to talk about out there. Like Zach LaVine might be getting shut down. We're about to hit shutdown season. You're hearing it in the air. Anybody with a minor injury is about to get shut down on these tanking teams. I don't, Devin Booker doesn't feel like someone who's going to play too many more games. Do you have any insight on shutdown season, Tyler?
I don't have any in-depth information I can give you here, other than to say it's real, but I think it gets overblown in some cases. Like no team's going to shut down everybody, and it's usually mostly guys either dealing with nagging injuries that they don't want to make worse by playing, right? Like some guys play through nagging injuries and push through to the playoffs. They're going to shut those guys down. And for younger players, there's valuable games to be had, right? The Mavericks don't really have any reason to shut down someone like Luka Doncic. Sure, he's really the only player they're running out there right now, other than, Dirk on his farewell tour, but they're not going to shut him down because he can get valuable experience, leading that team and, getting NBA game reps, which are not easy to come by in the summer, right?
No, not at all. I think, I think it's going to be like, that's what you have to pay attention to. There's no rhyme or reason to it. You have to just stay on that Twitter grind, pay attention to the games, see who's playing. The real key here is guys like David Nwaba are going to play 30 minutes for the Cavs. You got Wayne Selden, who got ejected like immediately into this Bulls game tonight, which I thought, or in the third quarter, which was pretty great for like literally doing absolutely nothing.
He looked at some guy wrong, and they were just like, "You're out."
Yeah, Shaq Harrison. Like, there's these guys who maybe they're not super fantasy relevant, but if they're going to play 30-some minutes a game because people like Zach LaVine are out, then they are actually fantasy relevant. And down the stretch, that is worth putting effort into getting those extra games, extra points, especially in those deeper leagues. But more importantly, in the Roto leagues, catering your final run all the way through the end of the season, making sure you maximize your games played, everybody. Don't screw up and leave a game on the board, even on that last day. And make sure you're honing in on the stats that you're going to be able to catch other people in, or that, stats that people might catch you in. So, like, all of these things matter. Paying attention to, Derek White getting really good minutes here for the Spurs. Who else is out here getting decent minutes? JaMychal Green. Good for him. So, shout out to JaMychal Green.
And, some of our favorite fantasy sleepers for next year close really strong in this period, and we don't really notice sometimes, in the sense that, we notice like, oh, he had a good game. We don't really notice they string them together till after the season's over, and we're like, hey, man, holy crap, from like February 1st on, look how good, Kevin Huerter was. Like, a lot of times it's rookies. It's not always rookies. Sometimes it's just players, kind of finding their own. Yeah, and then we'll have some crazy games down the stretch. The Andre Ingram game from last year.
Yeah,
fans will remember that. We'll have a few of those, and I always get a little pumped for those. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, some of those are gonna come out of nowhere. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no way you can guess a game like that. I don't think, but it's good to pay attention no matter whether you're in it, you're out of it. You can always start prepping for next year. And what we're gonna do is start talking about the year-end recap. We're gonna look back at the year that was, the season that was, and then as we get into March Madness, Tyler is going to be able to help you figure out what teams you should be watching as going in a good rookie slate of players who will be in the NCAA tournament. And after that, we're going to start looking at the year ahead. It is never too early to start prepping for next season. Tonight, Tyler, though, I don't know what came over me. I kind of threw this topic out kind of randomly a few days ago. Something must have got to me, and you'll probably, I guarantee you'll hear it. We're going to talk about the most disappointing players of the season. There was quite a few, wasn't there, Tyler?
There always is, and maybe we can put this on the table right now. There's a lot of different reasons you can be disappointing, and I'd like to hear what you think your most frustrating reason is, because I'll tell you mine then, and maybe that'll eliminate a player off the board, and we'll both be happy then.
Well, so frustrating versus disappointing, I think, are two different things. Some of these guys who play for trash coaches like Enes Kanter, he was frustrating because he's good when he plays. He was good when Mirotic was playing and not injured. He was good, and so that was frustrating. But when I think about disappointing, I'm thinking about a guy that I was like, all right, I'm using a solid draft pick on this guy. I think I got either a good pick or a solid pick here. He's a known producer, and he's kind of important. High in the top half of my draft, usually, not always. Who I'm like, yeah, I can rely on this guy, and he's fitting a role that I really, really needed. And then he just comes out and craps the bed, not just for a week or a month, but just has a bad season. To me, those are the most disappointing players.
So for me, the guys that are most disappointing are the ones like Robert Covington. When they go down with an injury, and I'm like, all right, this injury doesn't sound that bad. They made it seem like he'll be back in a week, right? What if they announced he had a bone bruise? Was that it? That dreaded bone bruise again? Did it get us again?
Yeah, the super intense 3-month bone bruise, I believe it was.
Right, and if you go back and people can do this, right? Listen to Tibbs's comments when it first happened. He was like, I think Tibbs was still the coach then, wasn't he?
Yeah, he definitely was. That's how long ago it was. In fact, the last game that Robert Covington played, of course, he played 38 minutes. This was 2 games after he played 44 minutes. Was New Year's Eve.
Right, and they made it seem like, oh, he's going to be good in no time. And I'm like, all right, well, Robert Covington's having a fantastic season. In 8 category leagues per game, Robert Covington was the 25th ranked player. 25th. So he was awesome. He had 35 games in on a season. You're like, all right, man, I got an awesome player going down the stretch. I am so pumped. And then
he was getting well over a block a game. He was getting 1.3 blocks a game.
Well, then the week passes and the news got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse. And now there is literally, less than about a month left in the season, and it doesn't sound like Robert Covington is going to play at all. He doesn't sound like he's close. I haven't heard that he's practicing. I haven't heard any good information about this.
No, I haven't heard a thing for months. I haven't heard anything for so long. I legitimately went back out to look to see if he had played a game, because I was like, well, he has to be back by now, right? I just haven't even heard anything. He must have just slipped right back into the roster, and no, I assume I hadn't looked since the end of February, and he's still out, and there's no news, none.
All right, and there hasn't been any word of him making progress. Our friends at Number Fire wrote just today. And I'm like, I don't understand this. And to me, that's the most disappointing and the most frustrating, because you don't see that coming. And there's nothing really you can do about it, obviously. But you don't see it coming, and you just feel like you had a rock-solid player that you were using. He went down with an injury. And, the Victor Oladipo injury is a little different because okay, he's done. Right? That's his season's over. It's easy. It's easy to get over that.
You just drop him.
But you just keep looking at Covington in your injured reserve spot going, dude, are you going to play? What you playing here?
Yeah, it's like I could use those 2 steals a game going down the stretch. Where are you at?
Yep. So those ones are maybe my least favorite. And I just wish I wish coaches and general managers and whoever would just be like, listen, he's out for a while. You don't even have to say how long, at least a month.
He's going to be out for a while.
Yep, he's not coming back anytime soon. That's what I like. That's what I'm hoping for from going forward. Just be like, hey, don't count on this guy. He's not good.
Well, I think that's super fair. He was is a frustrating player to roster this season. I'm more disappointed. My number one, actually, probably this is my number one disappointment this year because I drafted him in more leagues than I'd care to admit, and that was Chris Middleton. So to me, this is the epitome of a very disappointing player, a player who you've had your eye, us, everybody out there. We've been talking about Chris Middleton for more than just last year. We've been talking about Middleton for years. He's one of our players. We recommended drafting him, and last year he kind of took that solid step towards, he's playing high minutes. He was getting good steals. He was shooting 46% for the season. He looked like he was on the up. He was dropping 20 points a game. He finished per game, 9 category, 23rd overall last year. For totals, because he played 82 games, and you can't expect anybody to play 82 games these days, but he played 82 games last season, 12th overall in 9 cat leagues in totals. Chris Middleton, fantastic year this year. Finally, people who've been playing fantasy basketball casually are starting to notice Chris Middleton, which made him a little bit harder to draft. So you kind of had to pay, regular price for him. And I don't really know what to say. What happened with him? He certainly, the minutes were down a little bit, but that is certainly not the factor. He only shot under 43% this season. Even his free throws were down about 4%. His steals were down too, and that's a big red flag when your steals start dropping.
It's funny that he made the All-Star team for the first time ever.
Yeah,
and he probably now here's where maybe we missed the boat. He played 36 minutes a game last year, and for 2 out of 3 years he had done that. And even if you look at 2016, 2017, when he only played 30 minutes a game, he had some really high minute totals. He was hurt. That was the year he tore his hamstring, right before the preseason started, and he missed a ton of games because of that. So the part we missed, and I don't think anyone could have figured the change in field goals, and a lot of it had to do with he took more 3-pointers and he stunk on his 2-pointers, which that was pretty surprising.
Yeah, that's fairly rare.
But the thing that changed here was, right, Coach Bud came in, and that was good for the Bucks as a whole. But for Middleton, it really wasn't that great. And we also got a little high on maybe that was his career year. I mean, he did score 20 points a game for the first time ever. He was playing 36 minutes. And maybe we should just be a little bit afraid of a guy who's coming off a season where he played crazy minutes and scored more points than we've ever seen.
I think that's a good call.
I think we're going to see this with a couple guys on the list, and I won't name any names because maybe we'll keep them for a little bit, but I think there's a lesson to be learned here. Now, the steals, I don't know how we could have predicted the steals were going to drop. I mean, he had 4 seasons in a row where he was basically right around 1.5. So to see them drop to 1, I don't know how anyone could have predicted that.
And I think that's certainly the key here is those steals were pretty huge of a drop. That really dropped his value. He was kind of on the top of the maybe 3rd tier before that plateau area, those two plateau areas where everybody's kind of pretty similar, and a drop in field goal plus a drop in steal, and then just playing 4-5 less minutes. That was enough to get him into that plateau. Currently per game ranked 78th, but that is because he had a decent start and he's having a fairly okay finish. There was a period in the middle there where there was almost something with Coach Bud. There was kind of a bit of a blow up. He sat out a game in December, and everybody was kind of wondering. It was like personal reasons. Nobody really knew why. And then he came back and played really poorly after coming back from whatever he sat out from, and just doesn't see. He has the occasional really good game, but has not recovered. Chris Middleton, I mean, just kind of crapped on our season, and I think you pointed out some really good things to pay attention to when looking at players going into next season. Somebody had a career year, try to understand why he had a career year, and then make your decisions on whether he's going to be a breakout candidate next year.
Okay, so Middleton in 8 category leagues finished right now, which we're not finished, but right now is 48th on total values. So he did kill you, but it wasn't that bad. I'm going to talk about a guy who absolutely killed you. And this guy was a top 50 pick in most leagues. He went somewhere in that 50 to 60 range, I'm guessing, in your league, even if he wasn't a top 50 pick. That's Gary Harris. Now, some people are going to say, oh, he missed a lot of games and he was hurt.
He was hurt for a while.
Per game value, he is 153rd in 8 category leagues.
That
153rd isn't even a standard league relevant player in 12 and 10 team leagues. 153rd, that's per game. So that takes out the fact that he missed a bunch of time and he still stinks.
Yeah.
He's my most disappointing player of the season, just in the sense that I was big on Gary Harris. I think Gary Harris had a great season, going into this year. And I was like, oh, man, Gary Harris, bigger and better things are going to come. He's young. He's really good. And, I mean, the injuries have held him back, sure. But the 24-year-old Gary Harris has just crapped all over our lineup.
Well, I actually want to throw out that, I'm not sure Gary Harris ever got healthy this season. So, and this might be a good way to look at it with Chris Middleton. He had a career year. Maybe he's reverting back to the mean a little bit, and we always talk about that on the show. When you just look at a hot streak with a player, but look at a player career-wise. They get better, certainly, but sometimes they revert back to the mean. And I think Chris Middleton, being 27, going to be 28 next year, I'm not expecting him to have that kind of a season he had 2 years, which will be 2 seasons ago, last season. But I'm also not expecting him to have as bad of a season as he did this year. Gary Harris, on the other hand, young enough, only 24, like you were saying, has steadily improved each year and then fell off the face of the planet this season with multiple injuries consistently throughout the season. Never really played more than 3, 7, 10. Never really played more than 10 games in a row, other than the beginning stretch of the season where he was fine. So I still have Gary Harris on my radar for next year, simply because he's young enough, and he actually might be off of people's radars next year because of this disappointing season.
Oh, definitely. When we're going into next season, I am going to be in on Gary Harris. It'll be interesting to see what this Nuggets team looks like. They have a lot of bodies, and Malik Beasley, when Gary Harris went down, Malik Beasley kind of broke out. And, if Isaiah Thomas sticks around, they could have a lot of guys that just are pretty deserving of minutes there, which that might be a little bit worrying for us looking forward. But, yeah, I'm definitely going to be in on Harris next year. And if he's outside the top 50, I'm going to be pretty interested just because I think we've seen that he can be a top 50 player. But this year, man, he was disappointing. And like you said, maybe he rushed back a little bit and never really got fully healthy. And that's even worse for me. Like, if we're talking about fantasy, if you're hurt, I'd kind of rather you just stayed out.
Yeah, miss a month and come back healthy.
Yeah, because I can at least put you on my IR and forget about you for a little bit. Whereas if you play bad, I'm going to probably keep you around thinking you're a top 50 player, and then you're just skunking up my lineup. I will say this. I looked at the top 200 in total values in 8 category leagues, and Gary Harris didn't make the list.
Oof.
So that's just a real bad season from a guy you were picking, like I said, right around that 50 range. So
yeah, that was another guy we had kind of pegged out as one of our kind of favorite players to sneak in one of those middle rounds. So
here's the other thing too that I'd like to say to close up on Gary Harris. I'm going to be very worried about Gary Harris's health going forward, in the sense that, we look at his games, 55, 76, 57, 67, and now 40. So the most he's going to play is like 60. Yeah. So I mean, that's not a strong – I mean, that's one season of over 70 games. That's not great. That's not great at all.
No, it's been an injury-plagued season for the Nuggets with Stephen Willie Barton only playing about 26 games this season. That was also a sad affair. And then also, I'd say a disappointing player, another Denver Nugget, Jamal Murray, kind of a super young. He's only 22. I think he's barely 22. Kind of a almost like a Gary Harris light, who had the potential to kind of grow and assist, be the dominant point guard here in Denver, and just had a really bad shooting season. Didn't really progress too much from his stats last year. His free throws were down. I feel like free throws might be down across the league. I'm going to look into that. But I'm going to throw a theory out there for you, Tyler. I want to hear what you have to say about this. Gary Harris, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris got injured, and like you were saying, Monty Morris came in and played. He had a few good games. Malik Beasley came in. He played. He had a few more games. Are the Denver Nuggets like a football team that has a really good offensive line, and it just doesn't matter which running back you throw out there when you're playing with Jokic? If whatever guard you throw out there, they're going to be fairly good.
Well, Jokic takes a little bit of responsibility out of your hands, right? Because he can handle the ball so well, and he can do so many things that shouldn't be possible for a man of his size and stature, right? So that's a possibility. I don't know that I'd 100% buy that, but
I'm throwing a flag up on that's the last football pun of the night on the Denver Nuggets next year. I might be a little bit weary of drafting any guards on the Denver Nuggets simply because of this ordeal here.
This Jokic phenomenon.
Yeah.
So here's another thing I'll say about Jamal Murray, and maybe something we missed. We saw growth. We saw a lot of growth from that rookie to that sophomore season, including he went from 46.6% on his two-pointers to 52.9% or 50.2%. I'm sorry. So he basically jumped a good, percentage there, and now he's back down to 45.7%. So I think sometimes, when a guy makes the leap, we always want to go with the second season, and maybe sometimes that first season had a little more weight in it than we thought it did. So that's always something to watch out for, is just getting too hyped on a young guy. And I'll say this, per game value, Jamal Murray finished 73rd in 8 category leagues this year.
Not terrible.
He didn't kill you. And, we were saying the whole preseason about how it was surprising that Murray was getting picked over Harris, and Murray was like, in that 40 to 50 range in most leagues. So he didn't kill you, right? I mean, he lost like 2 or 3 rounds of value, but it wasn't like he was outside the top 100 like Gary Harris. And on totals, he actually is all right because he played. You know what I mean? Like he got a good amount of games. 78th in totals. It wasn't like he killed you there either. So Jamal Murray was definitely disappointing. We thought maybe there was going to be another step forward, and we really just didn't see that. So I'm with you on that one.
It was disappointing to me for sure, because I thought he'd be a pretty good pickup in. I didn't understand Murray going over Harris in a lot of leagues, and most leagues I was in, it was the other way around. But this is strange. This is a strange uptick for him going into this season.
Bit of a strange phenomenon. I'm with you there. And let's just bleed right into another young guy that, the same thing kind of happened as Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I think this was the big name, everybody's sleeper. This was a guy who we saw going in the second round in some drafts, which we laughed right out of the room. We reiterated that last season. It's not like he came on out of nowhere in the second half. He was starting from the beginning of the season. He was playing 33, 34 minutes a game, almost from the get-go. So it was like, well, where could he possibly improve? And we went through it, and we're like, there's not a ton of places where he could make a huge leap. So be wary of him. But he actually did worse than I think we even had him ranked.
And here's the crazy part. He's actually better. If you look at his stats, he's better in almost every category but his percentages. He shot more, and that wasn't good for him because he's not a great efficiency player, but he averaged 23.5 points. We only averaged 20.5 as a rookie. He averaged more blocks. He averaged the exact same steals. He averaged more rebounds. He averaged more assists.
But, I mean, you're 100% right about all that. But I think what people thought was going to happen was a giant leap. And
a giant leap in efficiency. And that's the thing I think you and I said the whole season is like, this isn't a super efficient guy. He's just not. He shot 34% on his three-pointers. He's going to shoot a lot of threes. Like, he's never going to be a super efficient player. So he ranked 44th per game, which was a similar spot to where he ranked as a rookie. I just think, jumping this guy into the top 20 or 25, which some people will do because he's only 23 next year, is again going to be a mistake.
And, hey, he was fantastic last season. He's also really fun to watch this season, too. Over the last month, he's almost scoring 30 points a game. He's great. He's hitting a ton of threes. He's good for those stats. If you're in Nine Cats, if you care about the percentages, though, he's definitely regressed because he's taking on more of a workload, which is exactly what we said. It's actually exactly what we thought would happen. His turnovers are up as well due to that. But the assists are up a little bit, so that helps. But we looked at what his per game was last season, 54 per game. His totals, 41st in 9-cat leagues. And we just said, well, how could he get any better than this? And the answer was probably not much better. And he's actually regressed. He's currently 71 per game, and in totals he is 64.
And I think this is crazy, but I think I said this to you. Like, how many shots can he take a game? Like, he can't take much more than 20. He's taken 20. Like, he did exactly. I mean, I think if you listen back to that thing that I said at the beginning of the season, I think it might be 100% on. Like, we saw this coming. This is one of our better picks here. You know what I mean? Like, we knew he was not going to reach those levels. Like, the thing he's going to have to do to reach the levels where people were taking him this year is shoot like 46 or 47% from the field.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's possible for him.
I don't think he's going to suddenly become a Steph Curry or Chris Paul type of scorer. Like, I just don't think the fish. He's more of a Kobe, and Kobe took a lot of shots, and hell, Kobe scored more efficiently. I think at some points in his career, anyway.
Well, and Kobe did a lot more assisting and rebounding, right? Like, he wasn't averaging 4 and 4. And the game was a lot different then. I mean, it just was.
Yes, it certainly was. You have to be kind of all around good to be a top tier, to be a second round or even a third round player in fantasy basketball. And I don't think Donovan Mitchell, even with all the good scoring, even with the 28 points across the board, I don't think he'll. I think his ceiling is probably the third round.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I don't know. He's probably. I'm guessing he's going to be on my list of guys I'm not picking where he's going again next year, because I think people are they're going to fall in love with the young. He averaged 23.5 points.
Yep.
He's going to take another jump.
Take a huge leap, and it's probably going to be very similar. That's a good point.
And here's the thing, like, I said maybe he can take 3 more shots a game this year. I don't know that he can even take 3 more shots a game next year. So, that's going to be, he's kind of maxed out unless he's going to increase his efficiency. Yeah.
There's another player that kind of is in that top, third round, before the beginning of the plateau, the first plateau of players that, you could take in the third, you could take in the fourth, really versatile player who you have to find the right fit for on your team. And he's fallen off the table as well. And this actually, goes back to the point, like, when you're doing everything well, or you're doing some things and a few things slip, you can fall right out of that. You have to be elite to stay up in that top echelon. I'm talking about Draymond Green. His last 2 seasons, top 30 guy who, you could almost guarantee that he was going to be giving you really good steals and blocks and shooting at a decent percentage and hitting some threes and, at least scoring double-digit points. I know points is not his strong suit, and I think everybody knew that as well. But this season, his shots kind of just disappeared.
He just forgot to shoot. I think he forgot to shoot.
Yeah, he's shooting 2. In fact, down the stretch here, almost 3 fewer shots than he shot last year. He's getting to the line less, which is, whatever you want to take out of that. He's not a good free throw shooter. But
he's just not attacking at all. Like if you watch the game, it's just like everything straight to
he looks like a different player. He's scared to take 3-pointers, and he's averaging under 1, which is a negative. Like a big man hitting half a 3-pointer isn't good. Like it's just not good anymore in today's NBA. And also his assists are a little down, and blocks are down as well. So like he's kind of lost a little bit of a fraction here and there, but then completely lost his shot, and that's dropped him down out of being considered one of those higher end players.
Okay, so this is a game that I like to play at this time of year. Where do you pick Draymond next year? Because with this, we didn't really see an injury affecting it. I don't think did we? Like it's just he didn't shoot. Like so, is this the new guy? Are we going to go back to 2017, 2018? Is it going to be somewhere in the middle? And where does that put him in the draft rankings? Like you mentioned, he was probably a late second, early third, maybe even slipped to the late third because he doesn't score type player. Is he a top 50 player still? Like we can look at the numbers, right, for this season. In totals, he finished 76th per game. Wasn't a ton better, right? He was 48th per game. So, where are we going to kind of slot Draymond when we're looking to draft next season?
I'm going to even throw another number in there. Look at his per 36. Last season, ranked 30th. This season, ranked 94th.
Yeah, right. Like
that's a brutal drop off. And the per 36 usually evens that kind of stuff out.
So here's a question: what other player in the top 100 averaged under 10 points a game?
Ooh,
like there weren't many, right? If we're looking per game, there is literally
100. I would almost say none.
There are there's 5 other players who averaged under 10 points a game, who finished in the top 100 per game. I'm looking at 8-cat.
Very surprised.
They were Larry Nance, 78th.
Okay.
Marcus Smart, 88th.
Okay.
Nick Batum, 89th.
That's sad.
Mitchell Robinson, 96th.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Lonzo Ball, 99th.
Oh, that guy's a trash person. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And to have a guy kill you in points is really, really hard to do in a roto league. So since I play mostly roto, I'm looking at Draymond's value next year. Let me answer this question.
You still
is
get
Draymond on a different team next year?
Let's assume he's not. Let's assume DeMarcus Cousins is, though.
Okay, I'm fine with this. DeMarcus is out.
That's what I mean. Or Klay Thompson.
Let's take KD's out and Cousins is out.
Or Durant, like whoever. It doesn't. I mean, to me, that part he's got to want to shoot, and I haven't seen that a lot this year.
Well, that's kind of where I was going. Is that like even if he was on his own team, I'm not really sure I feel terribly confident in making that a positive. The guy doesn't shoot. He could be a playmaker. Maybe some of his other stats go up. But like to me, this is like what he did last season is peak Draymond. Like that's pretty much the kind of, or maybe 2 seasons ago when he was getting 2 steals a game. Like that's peak Draymond. And I'm not sure that player at 29 approaching 30 is going to suddenly come back. I would probably consider him if he's slipping into the 5th round next year.
And here's the other thing. I think him being on another team hurts him because I don't think he gets the amount of assists on another team.
Yeah.
In the sense that, like, him passing to Curry and Thompson and Durant is getting him a ton of assists.
Those guys make shots. If he was on the Bulls, unless he was passing it to Lowry Markkanen, I don't think he's going to get too many assists.
Yeah, so that would be worse for me. Man, he's going to be a really hard player for me to pick next year, and I'm going to have a really specific build to even entertain the thought inside the top 50. Like, if you're going to average 7 a game, man, I like you said, it almost eliminates you in points. Like, everybody going around that top 50 range is averaging what? Like the low water mark?
20, 30.
Yeah, the low water mark is probably like 15.
Yeah.
So basically, you're getting half as many points from the next worst guy. Like, that's just really hard to recover from.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Draymond's value hurts even worse simply because, like, he was a specific type of build. So it's like you're only picking him and hopefully getting everything that you wanted. And if you're not getting everything that you were expecting from him, he really, really, really hurts you. So I didn't really draft him too much this season. I doubt I'm going to draft him very much next season, as he seems to be sliding off as he is approaching 30 years old. Tyler, right. I think you got to talk about your boy.
I'm going to throw shade on 2 of my boys here. Okay. Because I just feel like now's the time to do it. Come
clean. It's time to pour one out.
The first of which was probably the lesser of the 2 disappointing men this year. But another guy who irked me a little bit, and that was Ricky Rubio.
Slick Rick.
Rick took a step forward in his 3-point shooting and his scoring last year. Yeah. And it all looks sustainable, right? The Jazz were a similar team. They needed similar things.
The second half of Ricky Rubio last season gave me hope. I was kind of on the fence with Ricky Rubio, and you pulled me right back off that fence. And he had a good second half, and so I was on board with you this year. But that shooting has just disappeared.
Yeah, and he dropped back to just over 40%, which is difficult. He's 82nd in per game rankings, so another guy who didn't kill you, right? Like, when he played, he was okay. He wasn't great, but he was, a standard league viable player. He got the assist back up over 6, which was something I said I thought he could do. The steals went down, which didn't help matters any. He lost a little bit in points. He lost some rebounds. Moving forward, Rick is a very difficult player to peg. And the minutes dropped again, too. He only played 28.8 minutes a game, which is not something you wanted to see. If he's back on this Jazz team, man, I might be out as far as drafting him goes, in the sense that I think he's probably still going to go in that 60-70 range, and I think he's probably more of an 80s player. If he gets a spot, though, where he can handle the ball a little more, I don't even know what team that would be, because a lot of teams are so locked in at point guard nowadays.
Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, then we might be having a different discussion. And Rick's a tough guy for me to quit, but he's going to be 29. We just didn't see a great season. And I could safely say it was definitely disappointing for me anyways.
It's sad because, like, he was such a, like, coming into the league, it was just like, this is going to be so damn exciting to watch this dude do all the stuff that he does. And, he never even turned into a Steve Nash like garbage Steve Nash. Like, he never even got that far. The shot wasn't there. He still gets the assists and steals. So, like, he's not completely fantasy irrelevant. He still fits a really interesting mold. Like, if you're punting points with Draymond, like, this is a good another player to have on your team. Also, if you're in a race in a roto league right now, like, I would want Ricky Rubio to be boosting my assists or my steals going down the stretch. So
I have a new life goal, Michael. It's to be called the garbage Steve Nash. What are you? I'm just the garbage Steve Nash.
That would be great. You know how good you have to be garbage Steve Nash? You have to be really damn good at basketball. Steve Nash is a fucking legend. If he would have shot more, he would have probably been considered an all-time great. We would be calling, he's still considered an all-time great. Steph Curry and Steve Nash have a lot more in common than I think people want to give him credit for.
So I don't know if you heard this story or not. It made the rounds when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. He used to get fined when he was on the Mavericks for not shooting 10 times a game.
That's incredible.
So yeah, he wanted to defer everything, right? Like he wanted to just pass and make plays, and so yeah, like the coach at the time literally fined him every time he didn't take 10 shot attempts a game.
They should have made it 15. Like the guy could shoot.
The
He's
guy
really damn good.
the guy could make everything too. Like he was just, I don't know, he was incredible. He was one of my favorite players to watch ever. So being the garbage Steve Nash, not the worst thing in the world.
No, definitely not.
All right, so my other guy,
Yeah, you got to do it.
Jeff Teague,
Oh.
and I think maybe there's something to learn from this one, which is maybe why I like it more. So he was 90th per game. He had a very injury-plagued season, though. So if you're looking at total values, they were pretty garbage, 166.
Yeah. I mean, you can throw some up to the injuries for sure.
Well, and here's the frustrating thing, at least lately, is like it hasn't been like he's out for 2 weeks. It's like, oh, he's got a foot. He missed today's game with a foot. And he got this injury and he misses a couple games. Then he comes back and plays a couple, and then he misses a couple more. And that makes it also very challenging to hold on to him. Now, here's the other thing I'll say. If he qualified for it, he'd be 5th in assists. He averaged 8.2 a game, which is one of the big reasons I wanted him at the beginning of the season. If you remember, right, I said, 7.8 and 7 assists the last 2 seasons. He's going to get you a ton of assists. And from my point guard, 15 points and a ton of assists sounds really, really good. Except for he forgot to score the 15 points, Mike. And the shot attempts are down, the minutes are down, which we didn't see coming, right? Because it was Tibbs at the beginning of the season, and we're like, oh, man, Tibbs plays everything.
Here comes Tibbs. It's going to be 36 minutes a game.
Right? Everybody 9,000 minutes, and that wasn't happening. And part of that was because Derrick Rose was playing so well.
Shout out Derrick Rose.
The steals also dropped. I guess the thing that I'll say about it was maybe at age 30, we should have seen this coming a little bit, that we see a lot of guys now drop off a little bit at age 30.
Yeah, well, he wasn't like a speed type of guy. He was a kind of a crafty playmaker. Here's something I didn't know. Derrick Rose and Jeff Teague are the same age.
Yeah, so I don't know what to say about Jeff Teague for next year. He's going to be 31.
To me, it's my favorite, most disappointing player is Jeff Teague. Not because he
was the most disappointing, or he's your favorite because he wasn't that disappointing.
I'm the happiest that he was most a disappointing player this year. He's the only player that I'm probably happy that he was disappointing, and not because he was your guy. I thought he would be a fairly good pickup as well in those later rounds. The only reason is because Derrick Rose dropped 50 points in a game this season, and we should all be thankful we were alive to see it. 5-0, Tyler. 5-0. Thank you, Jeff Teague.
Yeah, so for next year, I probably won't quit Teague. And I think he's probably going to come at an even better discount next year. If Teague's going in that like 75, 80, 90 range, especially if he's a starting point guard somewhere, I'm probably going to be full on board. And a big part of it is going to be, again, and you'll hear me say this probably 50 more times, it's the assists, man. He's gonna get you assists. He's going to assist the ball. And he's going to probably be in the top 10 in assists.
And it's super rare. It's super rare to find a guy who gets 8 assists now. Like, that's because the ball's moving around. It's a better brand of basketball. It's a more attractive brand of basketball. But what it does is it eliminates that traditional point guard role where you're getting 10, 12, 14 assists a game. Those guys are just not meant for this league.
Yes, I will agree with you there.
I want to throw a couple more guys out there. Obviously you have your Gordon Haywards, your John Walls, all these guys who kind of got injured or never came back from injury very well. I want to.
So Wall is out for all of next year, so we don't even really have to hit them.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you though.
Shout out to John Wall being out all next year, baby, because someone's got Bradley Beal on his team.
Yeah, and it's an Achilles, so that could be kind of the end of really productive John Wall too.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm not celebrating the end of John Wall. That's cruel. I won't do that. But I'm saying Brad Beal is a keeper of mine.
But here's what I do want to say. What do we do with Gordon Hayward going into next year? Because I don't know that we're gonna see much differentness the last 20 games here or so. So what the hell is a Gordon Hayward?
Is he the rich man's Chandler Parsons going forward?
Ooh. Well, Gordon Hayward's still producing.
Rich man's. Yeah, he's on the floor. He's playing. That's the guy who, you know, a lot of people thought top 50, top 40, definitely coming up, definitely going to do it. All around versatile player. Never thought he would be that type of player. And then, you know, lose some athleticism, lose some confidence, lose a little bit of your shot, and all of a sudden you're at the, you know, you're out of the fantasy basketball rankings.
134 in per game. So just kind of hanging on that periphery of a 10 and a 12 team league.
I'm willing to draft Gordon Hayward if he's hanging around in the later rounds and kind of one of those last 2 to 3 picks, simply because, hey, there's an upside there. And also it depends on what happens in Boston. If he's going to take more of a central role there because Kyrie's gone, that makes me more interested as well.
Yeah, and I mean the Celtics team, you know, is Anthony Davis going to be there? You know what's going to happen with that team? That'll be very interesting, and it's hard to say. Assuming they run it back, they keep Kyrie. Let's just, you know, spitball. You know, they have relatively the same team. Man, I don't know. I don't know where Hayward's even going to be going. I don't know. I'm not going to try to judge the market, but anywhere inside the top 100, it would be hard for me to pick Hayward, just in the sense that, you know, I don't know that he's going to get a ton of minutes, and minutes are maybe the most important stat in fantasy.
Yeah. If I had to put money on Gordon Hayward next season, I think he could end up in the top 100.
Well, let's face it. If he plays like even 30 minutes a game, he's going to do it. But just by producing the stat line he was producing, he's going to be in the top 100 in like 30 minutes a game.
Yeah, like, you know, why not?
Next game this year, right? Like, really what he just needs is a few more minutes. He's fine. He really didn't play that bad. I mean, he shot poorly from 3-point. But other than that, like, he didn't play terrible. 44.9% from the field. Like, that's not great, but it's not awful.
But you've also seen some of those players that have had some of the traumatic leg injuries take a season to get back in. I mean, you know, Paul George came back. He was really good. Better than Gordon Hayward played. But, you know, look at Paul George today.
Right. So that'll be interesting. And really that team is what's going to be the most difficult to read, right? You hear a lot of rumors about what they're going to do and can they keep Kyrie and this and that and the other thing. So, you know, that'll make a big difference too, right? Because you're saying, if he's, you know, want to be one of the primary ball handlers on that team, or at least it looks that way, I'm definitely back in. Anybody who can average like 5 and 5, I'm in on, and you know, we've seen him do that in the past.
Those are usually your type of players. I want to talk about a different Gordon. I want to talk about Aaron Gordon for the Orlando Magic. A decent season, but not a great season with the expectations of a, you know, 23-year-old should have won the dunk contest.
Can we go back on a take that didn't age well?
Yeah, feel free.
So we had our friend and one of the genuinely most interesting people in the world, Mr. Kyle McEwen, on. And
shout out to Kyle.
Do you remember our debate we had? Because I'm feeling pretty good about. I think I won this one already. I think I got this sewn up.
No, I don't remember this Aaron Gordon debate.
We had a debate, and he told me I was crazy. I believe that was his exact words.
Sounds right.
That Al Horford was going to finish ahead of Aaron Gordon.
Ooh, wow. I do not know where I fell on this line. I think I might have let you guys have at it, but there's a decent chance I was on the Aaron Gordon side.
I believe you were, Michael.
Yeah.
I believe that did not work out well for either of them, because Al Horford 37th in the per game rankings, Mr. Aaron Gordon 93rd.
You know, never doubt some of them consistent old school big men. When they fall off real hard. But until they fall off, they're always pretty good.
And here's the thing I'll say about Gordon, and if you want to spitball a little bit, go ahead. Just the thing I never believed about Gordon in the first place was he's an inefficient big guy, which I don't love, right? Because I got to get some efficiency somewhere. And, you know, he took a big leap forward in assists, which I didn't think he would do. He actually got up to 3.6. But, you know, when I was looking at this, I'm like, how much better can this guy get? He was already playing 33 minutes. He was already averaging 8 rebounds. He was already averaging some good assists. He was already averaging like a steal and 0.8 blocks. Like, I just didn't see a lot of room for growth, and it turned out it wasn't there.
Yeah. I think, you know, what I saw was a season ago, a player who was improving from his rookie season, a player who was hitting more threes, who was working on a shot and hitting more threes, a player who had improved, though slightly, but improved in steals and blocks from one season to the next, improved in rebounds and assists from one season to the next. And this is, I think, the what always gets me is the when you have a snapshot, when you have like proof of life, where you're like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? The beginning of last season, Aaron Gordon was a monster. He had a couple 40-point games. He was, you know, getting 10-plus rebounds in a handful of these games. He looked fantastic, and it looked like the Orlando Magic, and now let's put an asterisk by the words that I just said, Orlando Magic, we're going to start running the team around this young, super athletic, very talented guy who could shoot, who could shoot threes, spread the floor, was a decent ball handler, and he kind of pulled up, had a few injuries, never seemed to recover last season, and the theory was like, all right, you saw what the potential is there. It's out there. This season is going to be his breakout season, and it just never happened. And I want to go back to that asterisk about the Orlando Magic, because the Orlando Magic don't know what the hell they are doing. I do not see them running this team around Aaron Gordon currently. Maybe they should. His usage is decent, right? But you know, Aaron Gordon's played a fairly long season. You know, he's played 64 games this season, and he's played about 33, 34 minutes. And it's just, he's good. He's not great. He's a bad free throw shooter. He's not a good field goal. The blocks and steals aren't there. And if the blocks and steals aren't there, if he cannot be a 1-1 and 2 3-point guy, I'm not sure Aaron Gordon is much more than a late round pick for hopefully not the rest of his career, but maybe the rest of his career.
Yeah, and you know, these guys are tough to see where they get better because they can do a lot of stuff. But, you know, does the increase in offense hurt the defense? I think maybe we saw that this year, right? He getting more assists. The shot attempts actually went down, but, you know, maybe doing more playmaking and initiating hurts the defensive stats. I don't know. I'm not a huge Aaron Gordon guy, and I think people will be back in because Aaron Gordon's still young. He's only going to be 24. You know, they'll be pushing for him to be a top 50 pick. And
I have not lost faith in Aaron Gordon, and that's probably going to be my downfall. But there is this one caveat. There's one caveat, though, Tyler. Not every single player, but almost a majority of the players who get out of Orlando end up being pretty good. So that is my one card that I'm going to keep.
They are great talent evaluators in the draft. They just can't seem to make those talented players any better, or they can never seem to unlock their full potential.
I think that's perfectly it. I don't know if there's a lot of basketball IQ running around in that place, making these guys better. Like, you know, they couldn't figure out if Aaron Gordon was a 3 or a 4, and I don't think they figured it out yet. What the hell are they doing? So it's modern basketball. He's obviously a 4.
You got that point, but I mean, is he going to get out of Orlando anytime soon?
When's that contract up? One more year, right?
He just signed a 4-year, $76 million extension on July.
Oh, no.
So make
no
next season, and he's got 3 more years after that. Actually, $1 this season. I'm sorry. On 3 more years after it.
Orlando has been known to make some really dumb trades. So let's Godspeed, Aaron Gordon. May you leave Orlando and it sink into the ocean along with all the weirdos who live there.
Ooh, the shade. It's real.
Orlando's a trash hole. I hope all you cool Orlando cats out there get out before it sinks into the ocean.
Another guy we nailed. I'll throw one last guy, and I think we nailed, and that's Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, we were out on Brandon Ingram. We've been out on Brandon Ingram. A lot of people getting I think I at least threw him a bone saying, like, hey, LeBron's going to be on the team. Maybe that makes him better. Forgetting my own obvious this is not a hot take. This is just a take. LeBron doesn't really make, decent to good players much better when he shows up. He makes bad players much better. He makes, good players better. But like superstars, he doesn't make better. So if Brandon Ingram's a superstar, he didn't make him better. I don't think Brandon Ingram's a superstar though. Like right now he's playing really well, but he's also playing almost like 37, 39 minutes a game. So down the stretch, he's going to have a nice stretch and people are going to draft him high again next year.
Season, so we can kill any talk of that. They ruled him out for the season with deep venous thrombosis, which
I've had that before.
That doesn't even sound good. So he played 52 games this year.
That's what they used to call me in high school, deep venous thrombosis.
DVT. They called you DVT, David?
Yeah, no big deal.
So 10 things I'll say here. I don't see really a way that he gets a ton better. Like, unless they're going to, like you said, put the ball in his hands and make him the superstar, like as a secondary or tertiary.
Yeah, unless they make him into like skinny Giannis. What's going on here with this guy? Like, what could he possibly do?
Worried about the health because now of his 3 seasons, it's 79, 59, 52 as far as games played. Like, that's not great. And he shot almost 50%. He's a bad free throw shooter, so that's not getting any better.
Nope.
Maybe he can get you a steal and a block, and that's what you have to hope for his fantasy value to be better. But if he can't do that, like, he ranked 157th per game this season. Like, he's not even really a draftable player to me. And, like, people are going to pick this guy inside the top 100 next year as a 22-year-old. And, I mean, he's played 33 minutes each of the last 2 seasons and hasn't been a standard league player. So I'm out. Like, I'm a hard out on this guy. And I know he's going to be a top 100 pick, and there's no way I'm going to sniff him in the top 100.
No, I'm not drafting him in any standard league next year. I think that's ridiculous.
If he was available in the last round, I might be able to find somebody I like better.
If Nick Batum and Brandon Ingram are in the last round, where are you going?
I'm going Batum.
I know you are. Yeah, we're all out on Brandon Ingram on this show, guys, and I think everybody knows it, and we will never change.
For the Batum hate, that you hear, like, oh, he's washed, he's done. 89th per game, 8 category value.
Top 90 player.
And every year. Every year. Like, it's just what he does. And, there's a lot of other guys that are young that I'll take the upside shot. Like, if I need an upside shot, like if I'm trying to hit a home run with my last pick, which is what you should be trying to do in a standard league because the waiver wire is so plentiful, right? Like, you should be trying to get a guy that can actually be a top 50, a top 60, a top 70 player. How does Brandon Ingram do that? That's the question I legitimately ask myself during the draft. Like, if I'm going to pick a guy with my last pick in a standard 10 or 12 team league, I go, what's this guy's path to being a top 50 player? With some guys, I'm like, all this guy needs is more minutes.
That's true.
Stats are there. All this guy needs to do is actually get the play. Ingram's played 33 minutes the last 2 years. Ingram just doesn't produce the stats you need. Like, he's not going to hit a bunch of threes. He's a bad three-point shooter. 32.9% for his career. Is he going to launching 10 threes a game? Like, no, he's not good at it.
The minutes are there. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, and I don't see him transforming into the Giannis, like, I'm going to have the ball. And Giannis gets a ton of rebounds. Like, he averages 5 rebounds a game the last 2 years. Like, where does it get better? For me, I just don't see the path to him even shooting into that top 100, much less that top 50.
Yeah, neither do I. I think that is it for our most disappointing players of the season. Tyler, everybody, shout out to all you listeners out there, especially our Patreon subscribers at patreon.com/watchingtheboxes. We really appreciate you guys' support. You help the show continue to run. If you want to subscribe, help the show out, and get first dibs on those listener leagues for next year, or maybe some special content over the summer. Check out patreon.com/watchingtheboxes. But if you just like the show, please rate and review us. It really helps people find the show. You can find me on Twitter at WatchTheBoxes. You can find Tyler at Tyler P. Watts. Feel free to hit us up and leave us feedback for the show. Before you end, I wrote an article near and dear to your heart, and I suggest that everyone go read it. It's about the Chicago Bulls. No, it is not. Damn. It's about why Luka Doncic's turnovers do not make any difference. Oh, wow. Hot take. And you can read it at the Smoking Cuban. You could just go to my Twitter, and it's probably the first thing up there right now. It had some really good points, I think, and there's a lot of points on why his turnovers don't matter, especially because he's a just turned 20-year-old rookie. That's a great call. You know, rookies often turn the ball over quite a bit. And also, have you noticed that the people who are in the running for MVP or turn the ball over, Mike, that's a point in there. And another point is, and you have to read the article to kind of get the whole grasp of it, is if you look at it kind of month by month, they're not really that bad. There's 2 months that were really bad, and it's the first one and February. And if you know anything about what happened with the Mavericks, in February, it was they traded every starter around him. They traded literally all 4 other starters. So I'd probably turn the ball over a lot, too, if I didn't know where anyone was going to be on the court when I was trying to pass it to him. Yeah, it's a good call. I would go check that out. At the Smoking Cuban, at Tyler P. Watts. That's it. Everybody, if you're not following Tyler, you're doing it wrong. And I think that's it for tonight. We will catch you next time. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and have a good one.